Today, we are uncovering the secrets to asking the right questions on your first call with a business seller. So stay tuned because this is the key to getting the best deals and making smart decisions when acquiring a company. The first call will set the tone for the entire acquisition process. If you don't build good relationships and rapport with the seller, it can lead to rough patches along the way. So building rapport with the seller can lead to a very smooth and easy negotiation and transition of the business. Next, this is your opportunity to gather crucial information about the business operation, financials, and so much more that we'll get into. Don't forget to subscribe because this is the first video in our M&A series and you don't want to miss out on future tips and strategies. All right, let's jump into the key questions that you need to ask every business seller. The first section will be the basic information. Now, you're gonna be asking what's the seller's name, an email, what's their phone number, what is their title that they hold within their company, followed by what is the name of their business. Next, you're gonna be asking where is the business located. I like to get a property address and if they actually own that property or rent that property. Next, we're gonna look at how long has the business been operating. This will give you a good sense of the reputation that the business has potentially in that area. Followed by what products or services does the business offer to their customers. You want to get a list of what the business does if it's not already listed on their website. Finally, why is the seller looking to sell their business? This is such an important point and question to ask the seller because this will be a great area where you can build rapport, where you can paint a picture to the seller on how to get to their end goal. Very important question to ask. All right, let's jump into the financials. One of my favorite part when asking sellers these questions. First question is, what is your yearly revenue? Next, I ask, what is the net profits of your business? Now, this could also state the EBITDA or the STE. Normally, the seller will give you a dollar amount or a percentage amount of the revenue. These questions I like to ask separately, but in this section, I like to ask how much inventory do you have in dollar amounts? Next, I like to ask is how long does that inventory last you in months? So with that inventory amount, it's gonna last you 1 month, 3 months. It gives me an idea in the future of what I need to allocate for inventory as working capital potentially. Next question is, how often do you order that inventory? Gives you an idea of the timeline that you need to budget for. Followed by how much equipment do you have in dollar amounts? Normally, this is a great question to ask because it gives me an idea of actually what I'm buying as far as equipment. That way I can allocate to either buy new equipment or save that money for other things because the equipment is already good. And then I like to follow up that question, how old is your equipment? Just to get an idea of if I need to replace it. Lastly, I like to ask, what is your growth over the last 5 years? This will give me an idea of where the business is trending. Is it trending up or is it trending down? All right, let's go into marketing and sales. Normally, this is an area where mom and pops don't do well in. My first question is, how do you acquire customers? This is basically asking, what is your marketing plan to acquire your customers? Normally, they'll say word of mouth, they say nothing, they'll say Google, etc. Everything but putting dollar amounts into marketing machines. So that's a great question to ask without saying, how do you do marketing? The next question is, what is your customer account? Like how many customers do you have paying actively for your service or product? Followed by, what is the customer concentration? Is it 50-50 split where it's a residential and commercial, or is it retail business, or is it a 60-40 split, 80-20 split? You gotta know. And then I also ask, does any of your top 5 customers make up a majority or 20% of the revenue? This will give you an idea if your business seller is relying on one particular customer for most of the revenue. And if you were to take it over, you have to build that relationship with that customer in order for you to sustain that revenue. And if you end up buying it and the customer says, nope, I'm out, there goes 20, maybe 30, even 50% of the revenue that you have to make up. And so the valuation is going to drop immediately, and then you got to work your butt in order for you to make up that revenue. I consider a business that's relying on a customer that generates 20% or more of the revenue a yellow flag, and I like to poke holes on that and making sure that they understand, which is the seller, that I am very precautious and wary of that relationship. Business operations. Let's just get clear on what you need to know and what you need to ask in order for you to understand how the business operates, so that way you can do proper due diligence to see it might be a good fit for you or not. The first question that I ask here is, how many employees do you have? Next is, what are the roles and responsibilities for each employee? Followed by, what is the average stay of the employee? Or what is the longest staying employee that you currently have? I like to then ask, is there a general manager that you have in place for when you take a sick day or when you go on vacation? I then ask the seller what are the roles and responsibilities that they do on a daily basis. I then jump into asking questions about the business property. Do they rent it? If so, how long have they been in the lease for? How much money do they spend monthly on the rent? What is the seller responsible for? Are they responsible for utilities and repairs? If they actually own the building, is the building for sale with the business? If it is, great. If not, also great. If it is for sale with the business, then this could be a great point of leverage to you getting SBA financing and getting better rates and terms because of it. The last thing that I asked, and the most important thing in my opinion, is required licenses for the business outside of your traditional operating business within the state that you're in. This is a license such as an electrician's license or a plumber's license or an HVAC license, very specific to the actual service or business that you're buying. I'll give you an example. So let's say you're buying a plumbing business that needs a master plumber in order for you to pull permits to do work for either a new construction or an existing customer residential. And if the seller only has that license and the company is using his license to pull the permit, and if he sells, then you got to understand how you can leverage the seller after he sells the business to be able to start pulling permits. Otherwise, you need to start asking him or her if there's anybody in the employment staff, if they have a license that you can leverage. If none of them have the license on the employment side, then you need to start finding or thinking about who to hire in order for you to put into the business so that you can continue the business operations with or without the seller. This is a very, very key fact that you need to understand, because this will make or break the deal. Because if you're looking for SBA lending, they're going to ask the same questions. After all of that and building great rapport with the seller and being relatable and building a personal connection, I asked this final question: what is your asking price for the business? And then I be quiet. And then I follow up with that. Once they give me an answer, are you willing to take payments? Are you open into a annuity structure? I like to ask questions to see where they're at and gauge if I can present creative financing options to them. This will give me an idea, because if the business doesn't make any money, then they're gonna have to be open to this situation, because they can't get normal financing because they make no money on paper. There you have it, guys. You have a framework of what questions to ask a business broker or seller in regards to the basic information, the operations of the business, financials, marketing and sales. So make sure you guys comment what you guys want to learn next in this M&A series, and then in the description below, make sure you guys check out the questions that is in this video, followed by subscribing to make sure you guys get notified and view the next video in this series. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.